So we're factorizing algebraic expressions. So just algebraic means we've got the letters in there, and the expressions just means no equal sign is in the, in the equation there. All right, so what we need to do when we are factorizing, we have to find this HCF. Does anyone know what HCF stands for?
Highest common factor.
Good. So the highest common factor. Okay. So sometimes we might not know or remember what a factor is. So if we have, say, a number 6, factors are numbers that you can times together to get 6. So say, for example, I could do 1 times 6, or I could do 2 times 3. So the factors of, say, 6, we could say are 1, 2, 3, and 6. Okay, so when we have to find the highest common factor, we have to find the highest one that's in common with the two numbers we're trying to factorize. So say for this first example up here, we've got, it says determine the highest common factor of 8a and 20. So if we think about 8a, if we think about factors that are in 8a, so we could have 1 times 8. What else could you do to get 8? What things could you times together to get 8?
4.
Yeah, good. 2 times 4. And then because this one has an a, we say a is a factor in there too. So we would times a in there. So that's a factor. Now, if we think of 20, what are factors, things that we can times together to get 20? What are factors?
2 times 10.
Good. So we've got, I'm going to say 1 and 20. That's always 1. And 2 and 10. Are there other ones?
4 and 5.
Awesome. 4 and 5. All right. So once we've written, or we know the factors, so what we're going to try and do is find one that's in both of our lists here. So what is the highest number that's in both lists? There. Can you see 4 is? Is that true? 4 is in both of them, and it's the biggest number. So that's how that we know that the highest common factor between these two is 4. Okay? So this is what, when we go to factorize, we need to find the highest common factor. So at the moment, we're just practicing getting the highest common factor out. So let's have a look at this B one. We've got 3x and we've got 6x. Okay, what are factors of 3? What things can I times together to get 3?
1 and 3.
Yeah, good. So I've only really got 1, 3, and I'm going to put the x in there because that's a multiple in there. So we put the x. Now, what about 6? What things can we do to get 6? We can do 1 and 6. What else can we do? What can we Yeah, 2 times 3. Is that what we said? And then we've also got x. So when we're looking for the highest common factor here in this group, so I can see 3 is in this one and it's also in this one, and so is x. So the actual highest common factor for this one is actually 3x. Okay, because they're both in there. Okay, and let's have a look at C. We've got 10a squared. So if you think about a squared, a can be like a times a. So I'm going to tell you those factors. What are other factors of 10? And I'm going to say 1 and 10 because we can do that one all the time. So what about other factors?
2.
Good. 5 and 2. All right. What about if we do 15ab? I'm going to say a and b are factors. And what are and I'm going to say 1 and 15. And what are other factors of 15?
3 and 5.
Good. 3 and 5. So if I have a look here, what's common? Each have got 1a. Not only the type 10a has 2 of them, but they both have 1. So that's both common. And I'm going to find the highest number in both, and I'm going to say it's 5. So the highest common factor for this one is actually 5a. All right, so that's practicing the highest common factor. So so now we've learnt the highest common factor, we're going to factorize simple expressions. So when you factorize simple expressions, the first thing you need to do is you find the highest common factor, yeah? And then the second thing you do is write your terms as, multiples of the highest common factor. So if that doesn't make sense, it will when we do one. And then 3, we take the highest common factor out the front of the brackets and put the rest inside the brackets. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's do that. So looking at this first one, who can tell me what's the highest common factor for this 4 and 20? I think we did it on the thing.
4.
Yeah, good. 4. So that's step 1. We've found the highest common factor. Step 2 is write your terms. So I've got 2 terms here as a multiple of, like a timesing of your highest common factor. So if I look at it, 4 times x is like 4x. There's my one term. And then I've got plus, I'm going to write 4 times 5 because that's what 20 is, yeah? 4 times 5. So here's my other term. Now, the next thing we do is we take out the highest common factor and we put it in front of the brackets. So I'm going to put the 4 in front of a set of brackets, and then you put what's left inside. Okay, so inside I'm going to put what I had left once I take that highest common factor, and so I end up with like that. Now, if we were double checking, because remember we did expanding, we could check this. So I do 4 times x is 4x and 4 times positive 5 is 20. So see how we went back? So that means we're correct. All right, so this here is our factorized expression. Okay, so let's go and do the next one. So we're over here. What is our highest common factor between these two numbers? We did it on the page before. What did we find? What number went in both of them?
3.
Yeah, good. So we're going to say the highest common factor is 3. Oops, sorry. 3. So I'm going to write these terms as a multiple of 3. So 3 times 2a, that would give me 6a. And then minus 3 times 5b, that will give me the negative 15b. So I'm going to take the common factor outside the bracket, which is 3, put the bracket, and then whatever's left over inside the bracket. So that would be 2a minus 5b and close. All right, and so there's my final answer. That's factorizing. Okay, so let's go have a look at this one again. So what's my highest common factor between these two numbers?
4.
Is there a letter as well?
Y.
Yeah, so we're going to say, we're going to say 4y. So I'm going to write, if I said 4y times 2, that would give me this term. And if I said plus 4y times, now there would be 3 to get the 12, and I still got the x. All right, so the common factor is the 4y. So I take that outside the bracket. And then inside the bracket, I put whatever's left, which is 2 plus 3x. And there we go. And we have our factorized expression. All right, one last one. here we go. So highest common factor of these guys, 4x squared and 10x.
2.
Yeah, we're going to say 2. And was there a letter in there? Do they both have something?
1 squared.
Yeah, so this one we could say is 2 times 2 times x, and this one we could say is 2 times 5 times x. Do they both have an x in there? At least one? Yeah, so we're going to say 2x is our common factor. So I'm going to say 2x, and I'd have to times another 2x to get this 4x squared. So there's that one. And then minus, and I've got 2x, and I'll have to times that by 5. So the highest common factor is actually 2x. So take 2x out the front and put whatever's left in the bracket, inside the bracket. So I'm left with 2x minus 5 inside the bracket. Okay. Let's do our last example. So we've got to find our highest common factor of these two. So remember 10x. So let's think of it when we might need to write them out. So 10x squared could be, so we've got negative actually 10x squared. So we could have negative 1 times 10. So 1 and 10 are factors. I'm going to say 2 and 5 are factors. And we've got x and x, don't we? Because that's what x squared. Now, what about negative 18x? That could be negative 1 and 18. It could be 2 and 9. Could be 3 and 6. And we've also got an x there. So which one's common? I've written them all out, the factors. Which? Pardon?
2x.
Yeah, so we're going to say 2 and x. Good. And I'm also going to say a negative because they're both negative terms. So the negative is common. So let's go and write this. So we're going to say negative 2x is my common factor. So I'm going to write negative 2x times what will give 10x squared. What do I need to times it by to get this?
5.
A 5, and also, because I need this, so what would I need to have? How do I get it? Sorry? Another x, yeah.
5.
Yeah. And now I've got, all right, and then I've got minus 2x. This is the next term. How am I going to get 18? What do I need to times it by? 9, good. So times by 9. All right. So what we have to look at, so we take out our highest common factor, which is negative 2x. All right, it's outside the bracket. So I'm taking out, negative 2x, and then inside the bracket, I'm putting what's left. So it's actually, see, there's no signs here. We just think we know that they're a plus. So we've actually got 5x and a positive 9 left over. We write it like that. Now, if you didn't take the negative out, you would have had, say you didn't say it was negative 2x, maybe you just wrote it was 2x, then you would have had minus 5x minus 9 inside the bracket. Both are correct, okay? Doesn't matter. So this one was a little bit harder. I wouldn't stress too much about it if you get a bit stuck there. All right, so